Hey guys, this is part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, go check that shit out, but this was a terrible idea. I swear to God, there is no way a 10-year-old kid in 1999 could ever figure this shit out. I have no idea what the hell Game Freak were thinking when they made this game so goddamn hard to finish, but we did it. Sort of. You'll see. Alright, so part 1 was really more of a prelude. We went over all the easy stuff and left all the bullshit to part 2. Now this time, instead of going chronologically through everything, we're just gonna go one by one through every little thing that was fucking bullshit in this game. Now, I'm not gonna make you watch every bug that I caught or every berry that I picked up, because let's be honest, you guys are just here to see how much this sucks. And trust me, it sucks. So it's time to answer the question, how hard is it to 100% complete Pokemon Gold and Silver? Let's kick this off with fucking bullshit number 1, unknown. So we'll start off with a nice easy one, but trust me, it gets so much worse from here. Now, I probably could have just caught one unknown and called it a day, but that's a bit of a cop-out, so we're getting them all. Now, to get all the letters of unknown, you gotta solve the 4 puzzles. Kabuto, Aerodactyl, Ho-Oh, and Omanyte. Every time you solve a puzzle, you unlock more letters. And after you caught 3 different letters, this guy will upgrade your Pokedex so you can access Unknown Mode, which keeps track of which ones you've caught in the order that you caught them. And unfortunately, you can't rearrange them, so it's kind of a pain in the ass to figure out which ones you still need, but it's fine. They do give you a word for each letter, like C is for chase, K is for keep, and J is for join. One little thing you can do is grab your radio and tune into the unknown channel, which apparently increases the encounter rates of the letters that you haven't caught yet. I have no idea if this actually works, because it didn't seem to make any difference for me. So the first 20 letters or so are pretty easy. These guys do have a chance to flee, like we talked about in part 1, but we got Jump Fluff over here, so it's all good. But the last few suck. By the time you got 25 letters of unknown, every encounter is a 1 in 26 chance to be the one that you need. That's a 3.8% chance to find the right letter. And after you spend like an hour running around catching all the other unknown, I was very over it at this point. Now the last letter I needed was P. And after about 20 minutes of running around the same area I'd been running around for over an hour, I finally found it. And then this happened. I was not happy. Another 20 minutes of walking around, we found another P, and we had the entire alphabet. J, K, C, E, I, D, G, H, F, A, B, W, U, S, T, Z, R, Q, N, M, X, Y, L, O, Q, and P. Now that we've caught every single letter of unknown, let's see what our prize is going to be. No, not the printer. Not the printer! Alright, that's 2 printer fails now. We are down to a 98% run. Next up, fucking bullshit number 2, headbutt trees. So this was so much more complicated than I thought it was gonna be. In Gen 2, they added a new mechanic where if you use the move headbutt on one of these little trees, there's a chance for a Pokemon to fall out. You got common Pokemon like Weedle or Execute, and then you got rarer ones like Pineco that like to use self-destruct because they're assholes. But then there's Aipom and Heracross. Now these guys only appear in special trees, and there's only like 1 or 2 special trees on any route. They also only appear like 20% of the time even in those special trees. So you might get a couple of Spearow or whatever and think it's just a normal tree, move on, and miss the only special tree in the area. The fun part is that the location of the special trees changes depending on your trainer ID, which means you can't just Google where the good trees are. Luckily, I found the best website in the world that does all the hard work for you. So this is tshadowknight.com, and what this does is take your trainer ID and map out the special trees in each area of the game. Now we're playing on Silver, so we want to find an area that has Aipom and Heracross in the Silver tab, like this one. Then we want to find a red star that overlaps with a headbutt tree, like this one. Now all we gotta do is go to that one specific tree on that one specific route and headbutt it till we find an Aipom and a Heracross. Seriously guys, how the fuck was a 10-year-old with dial-up internet on their parents' PC running Windows 95 supposed to figure this shit out in 1999. This is ridiculous. Alright, moving on to fucking bullshit number 3, the bug catching contest. Okay, so we don't actually need any Pokemon here, but what we do need is to win. Not just to say that we did it to call it part of the 100% run, but because this is the only way to get a Sunstone, which we need to evolve into Blossom and Sunflora. We also need one more so that I can have one of every evolution stone, but we'll get to the items later. Trust me, that's a fucking shit show. But winning this thing is almost impossible if you don't know what you're doing. So the way it works is you go catch a Pokemon, then a bunch of other trainers catch Pokemon too, and then the judge decides which one's the best. The first issue is that part of that judging is the Pokemon's total HP, which they don't tell you about. But if you knock down the Pokemon's HP to try to catch it, like you always do, there's a 0% chance you win in this thing. So you absolutely have to catch them at full health. The second issue, and this is the big one, is Cool Trainer Nick. Cool Trainer Nick always wins. No matter what you catch, this guy wins. The only way to not lose is to reset over and over until Cool Trainer Nick isn't there. Which, I don't know what the odds are, but it usually took me about 5 or 6 resets. Then, you have to catch a level 14 Scyther or Pinsir on full health. Not level 13, has to be level 14. And even after doing all that, I still came second. But a stupid amount of resets later, I managed to get 3 wins and 3 Sunstones. Now the final issue with the bug catching contest is that it only runs on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And you can only enter once per day. The problem here is that you cannot change the date or time manually in this game. And changing the date or time on whatever you're running it on doesn't make any difference. Now, I had no interest in spending weeks waiting for another chance to lose to Cool Trainer Nick. So what you can do is press down, select, and B at the menu screen to bring up the secret clock reset. Now, the password is based on your player's name, trainer ID, and current money. So once again, we need the internet. Cypokes.com has an amazing tool that gives you the clock reset password for your specific game, so we can change the date and time as much as we want, which we will be abusing the shit out of. The first thing we do after dealing with the bugs is go catch the Lapras in Union Cave that only appears on Thursdays. And while we're there, we grab 2 more Pokemon that are only available in this area, Natu and Smeargle. And while we're in a catching mood, we head up to the ice path to catch a Santa bird before it runs away. Speaking of Pokemon that run away, fucking bullshit number 4, the roaming legendaries. Now before I get into this too much, we gotta talk about the Repel Trick real quick. So most people think that Repels just keep wild Pokemon away, but what they actually do is keep lower level Pokemon away, which you can use to your advantage. For example, Chansey is a 1% encounter on Route 13. And I'm going to keep saying route because route sounds dirty. But Chansey and Pidgeotto are the only Pokemon that can be found over level 25 on Route 13. So if we stick our level 25 Eevee up front and spray a Repel, we will not get any encounters with any Pokemon under level 25. So now the only 2 Pokemon we can encounter are Pidgeotto and Chansey. Run away from a few birds, and just like that, we've got a Chansey. Now, we'll talk more about Chansey later on, because that's going to be a whole thing, but we'll get to that. Now, you can use this same trick with the roaming legendaries, but you've got to have a Pokemon at level 40 or lower. And if I got a low-level Pokemon up front, they're just going to run off before I can do anything. So what I want to do is find them the old-fashioned way, so I can stick Sexy Bat up front and use mean looks so they can't run off. There is a way to increase your chances of finding them, but you have to have seen them once already for this to work. It all starts in Violet City, because there's a bunch of different routes all in different directions. So the way the roaming legendaries work is that every time you move between a new route or a new town or whatever, they move one route in a random direction. But if you fly to another town, they basically reset and start somewhere totally new. So what you want to do is repeatedly check their location in the Pokedex, and then if they're too far away, fly back to Violet City to reset their location until they're 2 routes away in any direction. The idea here is that when you move 1 route closer to them, hopefully they move 1 route closer to you, and you're both on the same route. Now, this doesn't work every time, but it's a lot better than just running around blindly, even with the Repel Trick. Now, I'd already seen Entei, so that was a good place to start. I did the whole Violet City thing and found one on Route 37. I used Mean Look so it couldn't run away, switched out to Jump Bluff to put it to sleep, and... Okay, so, Mean Look doesn't work if you switch out. That's really fucking up my plans. Repeat the process and lead with Jump Bluff. Switch out to Sexy Bat to do some damage, and this is going very poorly. So I repeat the process again, and then this happens. I have no idea what the odds of this happening are, but this was the only luck I had the entire game, so I'm gonna take it. So we learn from our mistakes and catch the Raikou. Find the Entei and catch the Entei. Then later on, while dealing with some different bullshit, we find a wild Suicune, and now that we're experts at this shit, we catch it first try. We also catch Lugia and Ho-Oh, but there's nothing too crazy going on with those guys, just throw a bunch of Ultra Balls. Moving on to fucking bullshit number 5, Swarms. So in Gold and Silver, there's a weirdly large amount of Pokemon that are just irritatingly hard to find. Marill, Yanma, Dunsparce, and Snubbull are all only available on 1 route each with a 1% encounter rate. Quillfish and Remoraid also suck, because they both have a 10% encounter rate, but you gotta use a Super Rod in a very specific place or you're never seeing these guys. Now what we do get is the first ever Pokemon Swarms. After battling certain trainers in Gold and Silver, you can register their phone number in your Pokegear. Then they can call you for a rematch or just to tell you how their day is going. It's great. But if you register the phone numbers of Hiker Anthony, Fisher Ralph, Bugcatcher Arnie, Fisher Wilton, Schoolboy Chad, and Hiker Parry, there's a chance they'll call you up to tell you how they've seen a lot of a certain Pokemon hanging around a certain route, which, for a limited time only, dramatically increases the encounter rates of Marill, Yanma, Dunsparce, Snubbull, Quillfish, and Remoraid. Now this sounds great, in theory, but these assholes were the most unreliable bunch of I've ever met in my entire life. I had all 6 of them registered in my Pokegear for the entire time I played, and Fisher Ralph was the only one that ever called me to tell me about a swarm. So the rest of you guys can fuck off. Fisher Ralph is my only real friend. So Quillfish was a nice easy catch, but I had to run around like an idiot for hours to get Marill, Yanma, Dunsparce, and Snubbull. Plus a very long and very tedious fishing session to catch Remoraid. Now we also had to run around and catch a bunch of other rare Pokemon that don't appear in swarms, like Wobbuffet, Skarmory, and Larvitar, and then we had to grind through the entire Elite Four a million times to evolve Larvitar up to Tyranitar, and Dratini up to Dragonite, and this all took hours. But the next part was so much more painful, because it shouldn't be this difficult, but it is. Fucking bullshit. Number 6, the eggs. Now, breeding in Pokemon is like weirdly complicated. There's egg moves and EV breeding and different species and held items and abilities and all kinds of crazy stuff. But all we really want to do is breed some baby Pokemon that you can't just catch in the wild, like Pichu. So to simplify this whole thing a little bit, in Sword and Shield, if you stick a Pikachu and a Ditto in the daycare, every 256 steps, there's a 20% chance they'll make an egg. 40% chance with an Oval Charm. If you stick a Pikachu and a Ditto you got from a different game in the daycare, there's a 50% chance they'll make an egg every 256 steps. Or 80% with an Oval Charm. Then to hatch that egg, you gotta walk 2,560 steps, or if you have a Pokemon with the ability Flame Body or Magma Armor, it'll only take 1,280 steps. And just like that, you got a Pichu. And it's even easier in Scarlet and Violet. In Gold and Silver, it's a little different. You throw a Pikachu and a Ditto from the same game into the daycare, every 256 steps, there is a 3.91% chance they'll make an egg. Do the same thing with a Ditto from another game, and you're up to 11.72%. That's right, the best odds in Gold and Silver are worse than the worst odds today. And on top of that, there are no abilities, so you're walking the full 2,560 steps when you finally get that egg. The moral of the story here is that breeding in Gen 2 is very, very slow. So after 3.5 hours of running around Goldenrod, we finally hatched a Pichu, Magby, Elekid, Cleffa, Igglybuff, and Smoochum. But don't forget Tyrogue, because this guy's the only way to get Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, and Hitmontop. Now Hitmontop evolves from Tyrogue at level 20 when its attack and defense stats are exactly the same. Hitmonlee if its attack is higher, and Hitmonchan if its defense is higher. We also breed a bunch of Eevees so we can evolve them too, but we run into another problem here. You can only get 1 Firestone, 1 Thunderstone, 1 Waterstone, and 1 Leaf Stone in Pokemon Silver, all of which come from Bill's grandfather on Route 25. So if we evolve Eevee into, say, a Jolteon, we can't evolve Pikachu into a Raichu, which is a problem. So no matter what we do, we're gonna need to play through at least one more game. Which leads me nicely into fucking bullshit number 7. Version exclusives. Now, every game has version exclusives. It's just part of the deal at this point. But back in Gold and Silver, there was no regional decks or any of that. You could have all 251 Pokemon in these games. But that doesn't mean they're easy to get. So I booted up a new game of Pokemon Gold, named myself Like and Sub, and did not choose Chikorita this time. And because we weren't using the worst starter of all time, we had no problems taking out Faulkner, Bugsy, Whitney, Morty, Chuck, Jasmine, and Price. But not Claire. We don't need to. Because we only need to get to Route 45 to catch Gligar and Teddiursa. And catch Teddiursa. And catch Teddiursa. Stay the fuck! And catch Teddiursa. Then backtrack to grab a Mantine and a Spinarak. Now, Mankey and Growlithe are also exclusive to Pokemon Gold, but there's another game we need to play where they are much easier to catch. So I booted up a new game of Pokemon Yellow, named myself Like and Sub, and oh my god, this game looks so bad after playing Gen 2. Now, there is no way I'm using a Pikachu this whole time, because the anime is full of shit and Pikachu sucks. So we grab our old mate Nidoran, evolve him up to Nidoking, and destroy everything in our way. Now, I chose to play through Yellow for the Gen 1 Pokemon because we can get all 3 starters as well as everything we need back in Silver. Almost. We get the 3 legendary birds, we grab Mewtwo as well as Mankey and Growlithe. We also get the Dome Fossil to get Kabuto, but not the Helix Fossil. Now, I know we can do some crazy glitchy shit to get both fossils, but I'm trying to do this with as few glitches as possible. So you know what that means. So I booted up a new game of Pokemon Blue, named myself Like and Sub, and this is getting ridiculous. Luckily, we don't have to go through the whole game this time, because to get to Cinnabar Island, you only actually need to beat Brock, Misty, and Koga. Grab the HM for Surf and head down to the lab to grab our Omanyte. And while we're in Pokemon Blue, we go say hi to our old mate on the Nugget Bridge. Hit start before he sees us and teleport out of there. Then head up north to grab some delicious Slowpoke tail. We start to head back to the bridge, and it turns out you don't even need to go to the bridge. The online guides have lied to me. But we catch Mew and we are done with Gen 1. Sort of. Because next up is fucking bullshit number 8. The items. I didn't even know where to start with this one, man. This was the most difficult part of the whole thing. So just like Red and Blue, most of the items are not difficult to get, and it's just a matter of keeping track of what you do and don't have already. So the ugly spreadsheet is back. Now the TMs kinda suck, and getting Kurt to make every different type of ball kinda sucks. But that shit's easy mode. You know what's not easy? The fucking Lucky Egg. So we already talked about Chansey being a 1% encounter, right? But Chansey also has a 2% chance to be holding a Lucky Egg. 2% chance on a 1% chance? That's a 0.02% chance. That's worse than the shiny odds. So after like 7 hours of using Thief on every Chansey I could find, I finally got one. One item. 7 hours for one item. Repeat the process for Paris and the big mushroom, Butterfree for the silver powder, Cubone for the thick club, and Farfetch for a fucking stick. And that's not even the worst thing, because Gen 2 loves new mechanics. And now we've got a new way to get a few items. Trading. But not just trading from gold to silver, no. You've got to catch specific Pokemon in red, blue, and yellow, and then trade them with gold and silver to get the items. For example, a Pikachu traded from yellow to gold and silver will be holding a light ball. The only way to get this item. But that's not the only one. So I booted up my old game of Pokemon Yellow to catch a few more Pokemon. We catch a Machop, which holds the brick piece, a Raichu, which holds the gold leaf, a Ditto that holds the metal powder, a Jigglypuff that holds the polka dot bow, a Tentacruel that holds the silver leaf, a Kadabra that holds the twisted spoon, all the birds hold the bright powder, and we catch another fucking Chansey that holds the lucky punch. But that's not everything, because in Gen 2, you can decorate your room. And that means there's a whole bunch of dolls and bullshit that we need to get, including the silver trophy and the gold trophy, which you can only get by opening the normal box and the gorgeous box, both of which are only available by beating the entire stadium mode of Gym Leader Castle in Pokemon Stadium to obtain a gift Pokemon, which will be holding one of the boxes when traded to gold and silver. So I booted up a new game of Pokemon Stadium to take on the biggest challenge of this run so far. With my rental team of legendary birds and Nidoking, I took out Brock, Misty, Lieutenant Surge, Erica, Koga, Sabrina, Blaine, Giovanni, the entire Elite Four, and miscellaneous rival. And after 4 fucking hours that stretched the limits of my minimal battle experience, I finally emerged victorious to claim my prize. A Hitmonchan, which when traded to my copy of Silver, will be holding the normal box containing the silver trophy. So I head into the Pokemon lab and I don't know how to do that. I'm playing all of this on an emulator. I can't insert a game pack into a Now believe me when I say I tried everything to make this work. But I could not get Hitmonchan out of Pokemon Stadium and into Pokemon Silver, both running on emulators. I'm sure it's possible and smarter people than me can do it, but I just couldn't do it. So that means there's no Silver Trophy and no Gold Trophy. So now we're down to like 96%. And it only gets worse from there, because on top of the trophies, there are also mystery gifts in Generation 2. But they don't work the same as the ones today, because the Game Boy, it didn't have great Wi-Fi. It didn't have Wi-Fi, so you needed to use the infrared port at the top of your Game Boy to connect to another game and do the whole thing that way, which again, you can't do. Now, most of the items are just Pokemon dolls to decorate your room and things that nobody cares about, but it's also the only way to get a scope lens, which means I can't get a scope lens. Which, I mean, at this point, we're missing like 20 items, so we're not doing great. But I'm not giving up that easily. We do have one more option. Glitch this bitch. Now, you're probably all familiar with the cloning glitch. If you're not, in Gen 2, you could clone your Pokemon pretty easily by resetting the game or switching boxes, which left one copy of the Pokemon in your party and a clone of the same Pokemon in the box, which you could also use to duplicate any item that Pokemon is holding. But we want to go a little bit further than that. We want a totally new item that we don't already have, which is where the coin case glitch comes in. And this is going to get a little weird. So the first thing we need to do is rename our boxes to some very specific nonsense, then put any low-level Pokemon in the first slot, and a Quagsire that knows the move Return and is holding TM02 in the fourth slot. We head to the Cherry Grove Pokemart, walk to this specific tile below this specific tree, listen to Bellsprout's cry, and then open the coin case. The first item in our bag will now be changed to the item with the hexadecimal value of the amount of TM03 in our bag. In this case, the scope lens. If that sounds confusing, that's because it is. But we repeat the process many times, and eventually we have all the dolls, the gold and silver trophies, and a mystery berry, which means we now have every single item available in Pokemon Gold and Silver. Almost. There is one more item that you can get in Gold and Silver, and since we've already broken the game with glitches, we may as well break it some more. Now this last one is like the missing no of items. It's a placeholder for leftover data that comes in like 29 different variations, and they can all be sold for like 20 grand. And there's one variation that when you use it, it opens the Kanto map from red and blue and immediately destroys your game. So we will not be using that particular variation. But with all 29 variations of Teru-sama, we really do have every item in the game. Now all we gotta do is catch all the Pokemon. Fucking bullshit. Number 9. Celebi. Now if we were playing on the newest version of Gold and Silver on a virtual console on 3DS, we could just grab the GS ball after finishing the rest of the game and this would be easy. But that shit was not around in 1999, so we don't have that option. We gotta break the game some more. The first thing we need to do is set up our item bag in a very specific way. Grab our old friend Quagsire, but this time he's got to hold a HP up and have Sleep Talk as his first move. And we need a sacrifice that we're going to turn into a Celebi. We start in New Bark Town, take 4 steps to the right, listen to Bellsprout's Try Again, and open the coin case. Fly to Goldenrod and head down to the daycare, drop off our sacrificial Centret, and pick up our brand new Celebi. Now, there was also about 13 hours of grinding for evolutions and trading with held items, and trading for evolution stones, but look, honestly, it would be even less exciting for you to watch than it was for me to play. So just believe me, they're all there, I promise. Now, for the final challenge. And this one's not even hard because the game's broken or anything, it's just really fucking hard. Fucking bullshit. Number 10. Red. Now, I thought that this was gonna be easy. The trainers in this game are fucking scrubs, so beating literally every other trainer in the game, that was easy mode. But Red is different, man. I came into this battle very confident with a full team of legendaries. I got Mewtwo, I got Ho-Oh, I got Lugia, I got the birds. But Red does not fuck around. I lost 6 times before I decided I gotta change up my strategy. Now, I could have just grinded for hours to get the whole team up a few levels, but I got a better idea. The solution was staring me in the face this whole time.
Dad.
So Red leads with his level 81 Pikachu, whose main attacks are Thunderbolt and Thunder, neither of which can touch Daddy. Now, Daddy may be a little bit underleveled, but with the power of money, we can max out his stats with X items. And then Daddy does what Daddy does best. Beat a small child to death. And with that, we have somewhat successfully 100% completed Pokemon Silver. Kind of. So how did I do?
You tried your best, and you failed miserably. The lesson is, never try.
So the current world record for a complete Pokédex in Gold and Silver is 23 hours and 28 minutes by Ketchup Kleenex. It's also the only run because no one else wants to do this, but that doesn't include all the items, all the trainers, all the unknown, and giving you Pokemon dumb nicknames. So our run is going to be a little longer than that. The gold run came in at 6 hours and 13 minutes, plus an extra 14 minutes after restarting to get the Cyndaquil. Now the blue run was pretty quick. That was only 4 hours and 16 minutes. But the yellow run, that took 9 hours and 22 minutes. We also spent 4 hours and 12 minutes beating the gym leader castle in Pokemon Stadium. Now the big one, the silver run, came in at 76 hours and 53 minutes. Adding like 40 minutes for all the trading between all the different games, and the entire run took 102 hours. But finally, after over 100 hours of this fucking bullshit, we can collect our diploma to be printed out and... Son of a fuck! So this wasn't a perfect run, and we had to do a lot of dodgy, glitchy shit just to get everything. But this was never, can I 100% complete the game? It was about the question, how hard is it to 100% complete Pokemon Gold and Silver? This is really fucking hard. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you next time. JKCEIDGHFAVWU... Shit. Fuck. JKCEIDGHFAVWUST... Fuck me, why is that so hard?